Okay, good tavach everyone as we delightedly start the evening with 30 Zoomers, and good tavach as we are on the brand new computer, which has now room for literally hundreds and hundreds of more shiurim. And thank you everybody that participated in this. Thank you, Shimon. It's up and running, and Yitzi Muller. We are sponsored in our learning, co-sponsored by the Rezepkowitz family in honor of their parents, co-sponsored by Mr. and Mrs. Eddie Chazan, L'Refuah Shalema for Shoshana Bas Penina, Simone Bas Rachel, co-sponsored by Binyamin Rivlin, Lila Nishmas Yitzchak Ben Avram Yehuda Alevi, co-sponsored by Shelley Zeitlin for his children, Elia Orit and Ora, by Shalom Fogel, Lila Nishmas Yaakov Zeb Ben Yehuda Aryeh, Rivka Bas Yaakov Yosef, Tzivya Miriam Bas Gad, Yosef Ben Sion Yaakov Zev, L'Refuah Shalema Be'er Goldwasser for my Refuah Shalema, Moshe Meir Ben Esther Fadel, and Hakar Satay for this year. We welcome in Dr. Black, Irving Fishbaum, Yeshua Yamansky, Ben Sion Cohn, Mel Zachter, Eddie Chazan, Yaakov Warman, Dr. Guy, Saba, Stephen Holtzman, Marshall Castle, Rabbi Kranz, Nachman Chapler, Shimon Klein, Yisrael Fisher, Yitzi Fuchs, Michal Avram Chavin, Barry Cement, A.B. Spry, Yitzi Muller, Mark Frankel, Shimon Deer, and son, I think, daughter, Michal, Richard Rosenzweig, Moshe Lehman, Ilya Shutman, Abe Arbach, Chaim Braun, I'm not sure who daddy is, and we have here in Shul, Berish Gesseman, and I believe it is Ruvain Shanit on the way, coming down the steps. We are holding, and we have, as we finish the parak with a bang, we have two blot of incredible Agadah Gemara, and I will say that since every word is a separate mitzvah say of Limud HaTorah, that we are going to be mekayim a lot of mitzvahs this evening. What a way to start the new week, and we should have in mind that we're being mekayim the mitzvah d'oraisa v'dibarta bam. It should give rifay sila sharecho l'chol b'sarei marpe. It should give us good health. Oirech yamim b'yamina b'smeila isha v'chavod. So the Mishnah. What?
Can I give a name for Shlema?
Yeah.
Yocheved Bas Sheina.
Yocheved Bas Sheina should have Refuah Shalema b'sei shecha Yisrael. The Mishnah says, as we start, as we said, 4 lines from the top of Daf Lamed Ches Amud Aleph, Yehuda v'Cheskia b'nei Reb Chia, Yehuda and Chizkiah, the children of Reb Chia, Yosvei b'Sudas Kamei Rebbe, were sitting in a meal in the presence of Rebbe. Now, if you sit in front of Rabbeinu HaKadosh, you are cowed, to say the least. They didn't open their mouths. They were in awe. Amalahu, Rebbe wanted them to talk, so he wanted to loosen their tongues. So Amalahu Agbaru Chamra Adardike. Overwhelm these young ones with wine, so it should loosen their tongues. Because I know they tell me they're chachamim, and let them share with us some words of Torah. Kevan di Ibasim, once they were mellow and they drank, Paschu v'amru, they opened up and they said, Ein ben David ba, at sheyichlu shnei batei avos miYisrael. Mashiach won't come until 2 families cease from Yisrael. Ve'elu hein Rosh Galila shebabavel, the head of the Galus, the Reish Galusa in Bavel, v'nasi sheberetz Yisrael, and the Nasi in Eretz Yisrael, which is Rabbi Yehuda Nasi's family. Shenema v'hayu lemikdash, and the Mashiach. Pasuk is talking about Mashiach. The Mashiach will be for the Mikdash, ula even negef, and it will be for a stone that will cause people to be smitten, Ulitzur Michshal, and a rock for stumbling, Lishnei Bata Yisrael, for the two preeminent houses of Yisrael. Now this word foretold not something good for Rebbe's house. So Amalahem, so Rebbe said to them, Bonai, my children, are you putting thorns in my eyes by mentioning this? Amalei Rebbe Chia, so Rebbe Chia interceded on behalf of his children. Rebbe Aliyeh Rabbeinacha, Rebbe, do let it not be bad in your eyes. You didn't give them a choice. Yayin nita mishimim oisius. Yayin is begematria 70. V'soid nita mishimim oisius, and secret is 70. Nichnas yayin yotzasoid. You loosened their tongues, and there came out secrets. That's not their fault. You took away their power of inhibition. They would have never said it otherwise. Rav Chisda said the name of Rav Chisda that Dorish Mori Bar Mar, that Mori Bar Mar expounded, my dichsiv, what is that which is written in the pasuk? Vayishkoid Hashem al hara, Hashem hurried up the evil, vayivi'eha aleinu, and brought it upon us, ki tzadik Hashem, for Hashem is righteous. Now what kind of righteousness is it? What kind of charity is it for Hashem to hurry and bring evil? Mishum de tzadik Hashem v'yishkar Hashem al hara v'yivi'eha aleinu. Hashem hurried up the evil and brought it upon us. In Tztaka asa Kadosh Baruch Hu Yisrael shehiktim golus tzidkiyo, he hurried the exiles of Tzidkiyo v'oid golus Yechanya kayemes, while the previous exile of the king of Yechanya, while they were still alive, because we're going to see that with Yechanya were exiled 1,000 amazing, awesome Talmidei Chacham, and therefore since Tzidkiyo's Gullus was hurried, they were able to benefit from the teachers of the Gullus Yechanya that was still alive. The Chsibbe Begulus Yechanya, because it says by the exile of Yechanya, Ve'achorish v'amiskar elef, the carpenter and the Mizkar, which is a gatekeeper, were 1,000. Now, but we don't darshan this. That's the literal meaning. We darshan it homiletically. Chorish, Kevan Shepoischen, these Talmidei Chachamim that came up with Yechanya, when they open their mouth, Hakol Nasim Kechershin, everyone becomes like a deaf mute. They don't have what to say. There's nothing to add. Masger, Kevin Soigrim Ba'alacha, once they shut a case, once they close a sugya, Shuvein Paischa, nobody has a question to ask. That's how expert they were. And how many of them were? There were Elef. So by ushering the gullus of Tzidkiyo, this allowed that they should benefit from these Talmidei Chacham that was still alive from the gullus of Yechanya. Ula says a different shot. What does it mean that Hashem hastened, that Hashem did quickly because he's charitable? The pasuk says that v'noishamtam ba'aretz, and you will be old in the land, and I will utterly destroy you. Now the gematria of v'noshantam is 852. Hashem exiled them 2 years earlier, so they shouldn't reach the stage of the Noishantam where they would then be deserving to be utterly destroyed. And that's what the Gemara says. Ula Amar shehiktim shtei shonim Noishantam. He exiled them 2 years earlier, so they shouldn't get to the gematria of Nishantam when they would have to be utterly destroyed. When it says that I did it quickly, I hastened, that the Mehera of Hashem is Tamne Meya V'chamshin V'tartan Haba, is 852, because it says over there in the pasuk that the Jews would be destroyed, the Mehera, they would be destroyed quickly. So we see that quickly by Hashem is 852 years. Now remember, our Mishnah went into a dissertation of why man was created alone. In other words, all the other creatures were created two apiece. Man was created alone. Tanu Rabbanan Adam Yechidi Nivra. Man was created alone. Umipnei ma. Why? Shelo Yitzidukim Aimim, in order that the heretics shouldn't say, Hava Rishiyas B'Shamayim, there are many deities in heaven, and each created their prototype. Davar Acher, Mipnei Atzadikim Umipnei Arishon. Because of the righteous, because of the wicked. Shelo Yitzadikim Aimim, the righteous shouldn't say, Anu B'nei Tzaddik, I am descended from the righteous ancestor, and therefore I don't have to work so hard. And they will try not to work so hard. Urisham Amru, and in order the wicked should say, Anu B'nei Rasha, we're descended from the wicked person, and we don't have a choice, and we are stuck in our fate. So therefore Hashem only created one man that everybody descended from. Davar Acher, another pshat. Mipnei HaMishpachas, families, they shouldn't argue about yichus. Oh, I come from this one, I come from that one. Shelo Yemishpachas Miskaras Zu B'Zu. Or Ma Achshav Shenivra Yochid. Madach nowadays, that man was created alone. Still, Miskaras, they still fight about yichus because of the ancestry later on. Nivru Shnayim, if it was created two, and they could argue that I come from this original person and that original person, alachas kama v'kama, how many fights there would be. Davar achar mipnei hagazlanim u'mipnei hachamsanim, because of robbers and because of people that extort. A chamsan is somebody that pays but forces the item away from you. The idea being that if there would be more than one person initially, people would argue, this is mine because I'm descended from this one, and not yours, you're descended from that one. Now, where man was created alone, Geizlin v'chaimsim, people steal and extort. Nivru shnayim, if it was created two, and people would argue that I'm from this line, and therefore it's mine, alachas kama v'kama, there would be feuding and fighting. Ulahagid gidulasei, and to show the greatness, remember we said that Hashem made, if we make a coin from a stamp, all the coins are the same, but Hashem made one stamp, and every person is different. Ulahagid gidulasei, tan rabbanan, lagid gidulasei shel melech malchi amlochim, to show the greatness of the king who appoints kings, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Holy One, blessed is He. She'adam teveh kama matberes v'chaysim echad, when we make many quarters with one stamp, the kulan daim zel lezeh, they're all the same. HaKadosh Baruch Hu teveh kol adam b'chaysamay shel adam arishin, He stamps everybody with the chaysim of adam arishin, ve'ein echad mehem daim l'chaveirah. We know that we have a yesod that ein pritzu feyen daime zu lezu. No, not one person looks like the other. Shenemar tishafech kichaymer chaysam. When a person dies, they turn from clay to clay from their stamp. V'yitzyatzvu, and they will get up in the future K'may levush, as one who is in clothing. So we see that man was created with a stamp. This tells us that at Tris Mason people won't get up naked; they'll get up clothed. And now the Gemara says, why does everybody look different? We have to know that in the Zohar it says, "Istakel ba'oraisa ubara alma." Hashem looked in the Torah and created the world. So everything about the creation follows the dictates of the Torah, right? That's what it says. We say in Pirkei Avos, "Hafeich ba dekula ba." Turn it around. All the information is in the Torah. So says the Gemara, "Umipnei ma ein pirtzufeim daimen zelazeh." Why do people look different? Shelo yira adam dira na v'isha na, that a person shouldn't see a nice house or a nice woman, v'yomer shali, and he'll say it's mine, and nobody will be able to disprove him because everybody looks the same. Everybody asks over here, but if everybody looks the same, then what's the meaning of an isha na? All the women look the same. And they answer that isha na over here means a woman of grace, a woman of chen, a woman of charm, and not her physical appearance. Shenemar v'yimana mirishaim oyram, and it will cause the withholding from the wicked light. Uzuraya rama tishaver, and their raised hand will be broken. In other words, this is the reason it follows this pasuk to tell you that they won't be able to anymore claim somebody else's house as theirs. We want to welcome in Shelley Zeitlin as our 33rd Zoomer of this Motzei Shabbos, 33rd Zoomer. And we do have, by the way, Marshall, we do have a bourbon counter on the bottom over here. It is saying 17 more to the promised land. There is a bourbon counter. And it's interesting, it counts you as a person. It counts Barry as a person. It really is. It really is interesting.
Hey, Shimon, you blew it. You're supposed to program it at 30.
Now,
Pay extra for that, buddy.
Actually, Marcy, hello, how are you? There's 30.
Hashem, how about you?
It's wonderful to see you. When you come into the box, it becomes much more handsome. With him it was 34, but okay.
He doesn't like booze. It's okay.
Yeah, but he likes when you're drinking the booze. You'll be a little bit more mellow. No?
Hey, I paid for dinner. No.
Okay. So anyway, Tanya, in 3 areas we are different than our friends. Bikel, in our voice, b'mara, our appearance, u'b'das, and in our intellect. B'kol b'mara mishum erva. That's in order to ensure that a woman won't sleep with somebody other than her husband, because she'll see it's not her husband, and in the night when she can't see, she'll be able to discern from the voice. U'b'das, and with knowledge, mipnei agazlonim v'chamsonim, because of thieves and extortionists. If everybody would think the same, then Marshall would be able to figure out that Mel hides his money in his socks and Mark hides his money under the mattress, but everybody thinks differently, so therefore you won't be able to take people's money. Tan Rabbanan, Adam Nivra Be'erev Shabbos, man, the original man was created on Friday. Why was he created at the end? That the heretic shouldn't say, if man was created on the first day, then the tzedakim will say that man helped God with the creation. If man becomes arrogant, if man becomes too haughty, remember, sir, the gnat was created before you. The reason why it was created on Friday is that he should be able to do the mitzvah of Shabbos Kodesh immediately. Hashem set the table for Adam Arishan. He gave him a finished banquet. This could be compared to a human king. Shabana Palterin, he built palaces. V'shichlulon, he decorated them. V'hiskin Suda, he prepared a banquet. And only then, and only then did he bring in the guests. Shenemar, Chochma Yisbonsa Boisa, with wisdom he built the house. Chotzva Amudei Shiva, carved out 7 pillars. Tavcha Tifcha Moscha Yaina, He slaughtered the oxen, blended the wine, af orcha shulchana, set the table, sholcha narisa tikra. He then sent forth narisa, the young ladies, and called al pi mirome keres, on the tops of the high places of the city. So now the Gemara takes apart this pasuk and explains it. Chachma is bansa beisa, with wisdom he created the house. That zumi dasa shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu shebara es kol ha'olam kuloi b'chachma. He created the whole world with wisdom, like we say in our davening. Mo rabu masecha Hashem kulam b'chachma asisa. And by the way, that means that everything is vested with wisdom. There is nothing extra. The appendix is not extra. The tonsils are not extra, because Chachma is bansa. Everything is created with wisdom. Everything has function. Chotzva Shiva, carved out 7 pillars. Elu Shivas Yemei Bereshis. These are the 7 days of creation, because we know Shabbos is also a day of creation. Basa Shabbos, Basa Menucha, the great creation of Menucha, like Barry said. Smell of cholent in Shabbos morning, wafting through the house. That's why Barry is able to be here tonight, because he had cholent revival. The Gemara tells us, Tovcha tifcha maska yaina af orcha shulchana. The meat is slaughtered, the wine is blended, the table is set. That refers to all of the details of creation. Elu yamim and nahiris, the seas, the rivers, the kol tzarchei olam, all the needs of the world. Sholchu naraseh tikra, then he sent forth his maidens. Ze adam v'chava, that's a reference to Adam and Chava. They were, the Marsha over here says, it's a very interesting Marsha, that Adam and Chava were created as 20-year-olds. That's how they were when they were created. And Ramila talks about this, that a lot of things in the Bria when they were created were already created with aged symbols, which make them look much older than they really were. Al gape merome keres, at the top of the high place of the city. Rabba Barbachana Rami, Rabba Barbachana asked, it says, ksiv al gape, it says on top, and ksiv al kise, on the chair. Which one is it? Says the Gemara, betchila al gape. Initially, before Adam and Chava sinned, they were on the top. Ula b'seif al kise, they were diminished to be only on the chair. Mi pesi, if somebody is a pesi, a simpleton, a fool, yoser heina, he should turn here. Chasar leiv, one who is lacking understanding, Omruloi, she told him. Now what does this mean? Omer HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the word pesi comes from the word mefateh, to seduce. Right? We know that there's oinus or mefateh. So, Omer HaKadosh Baruch Hu, mi pisay lezeh, who seduced Adam Arishan, Isha Amralai, he was told by a woman. Dichsiv, how do we know that when the pasuk says, Mi pesi yoser heina, who was seduced? Chasar leiv Amralai. And chasar leiv refers to a woman. Dichsiv noyef isha, one who commits adultery with a woman. Chasar leiv is lacking understanding. So we see isha is connected to chasar leiv. So it's the woman who seduced the man. Tanya, his form was from earth gathered from the entire world. Shenemar golmi ra'u einecha, my golem, my form, your eyes beheld, Hashem eyes beheld. V'ksiv ki Hashem einav mishaytetais b'chal haaretz, and Hashem eye sees the entire earth. So his form, his golem, was made from earth all over the world. Am Rabbi Ishim Ishmael the Rav, Adam Arishan, and now I see Mark has, Mamish, his eyes are gleaming when he saw the size of this daf. I mean, Mark says, I'm in it for the duration, Rabbi Weiss. Says the Gemara, Gufay mebavel, Adam's body was from Bavel, V'roishim Eretz Yisrael, his head was from Eretz Yisrael, Ve'ivarav Mishar Aratzas, his limbs were other lands, Egvaisav, it's interesting that the Gemara mentions his buttocks, why it specifies his buttocks, says Egvaisav, Amarav Acha Me'akra de Agma, they're from the marsh of Agam, from Akra de Agma. Amarav Yochanan, actually it's the fort of Agma. The day has 12 hours. This is the chronological order of man's first day, on Friday. The first hour, the earth for man was piled up. In the second hour, he was made into a clod of earth. Shlishis nimtechu evarav. In the third hour, Hashem cut his limbs. Revius nizrika by neshama. The fourth hour, Hashem put in him a soul. Chamishis amad al raglav. And the fifth hour, man stood up. Shishis karashemish. The sixth hour, man named the names for all the animals. Shvius nizdav galei chava. The seventh hour, he mated with Chava. Shminis. On the eighth hour, Alu Lamita Shnaim, they went into bed 2, V'yardu Arba, and there came out 4, that's with Cain and Hevel. Chi Nitztava Shaloi Lechel Min Ilan, the 9th hour, they were commanded not to eat from the tree. Asiris Sarach, the 10th hour, they sinned. Achas Esrei Nida, in the 11th hour, they were judged. Shteim Esrei Nitrad V'halachloi, the 12th hour, they were punished. Now, it doesn't mean they were sent out of Gan Eden, because they stayed in Gan Eden the whole Shabbos, but they were diminished, as we said. Shenemar Adam b'yikar bal yolin. He won't go to sleep in his original glory. Amarami Barchama ein chaya rosh sheletes ba'adam. An animal will not attack a man unless this man lost his appearance of a human and appears like an animal. In other words, if he descended to the level of an animal, then the animal is not afraid of him. Shenemar nimshal, you will be ruled by the animals, because kabehemais nidmu, you appear to the animals like animals. If not, normally the default position is that animals are terrified to do anything to a human. Amrav Yudamarav. Just getting on the way over here on a beautiful Matzah Shabbos with 33 Zoomers. We also welcome in David Helfkat, who's joining us via Kol Haloshen. We welcome all those that are viewing on TorahAnytime.com, on listening on Kol Haloshen, watching on YouTube, listening on those that subscribe. And by the way, we want to say a shout out to Aaron Swade. We miss you. We hope you'll join us back soon. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav. B'shoshe bikesh HaKadosh Baruch Hu livroi, says Adam, when Hashem wanted to create man, Borakat Achashel Ma'achei Hasharis, he prefaced it by creating a band of celestial angels. Amalem Ritzainkem Nasa Adam Mitzalmenu, should we make man in our image? Amalefan of Rebbeinu Shalom Ma'asav. What are the actions of man? Amalem Kach V'Kach Ma'asav. He's going to do mitzvahs and he's going to do averis. Amalefan of Rebbeinu Shalom. Well, what do we need it for? The Malachim only do good. They don't have a Yetzirah. Rebbeinu Shalom Ma'enosh Kisif Gerenu. What's man that he should be mentioned? Ben Adam Kisif Gerenu. And who is man that he should be appointed? Hashem, so to speak, stuck his finger amongst them, usrafim, and he burnt them. So did it repeat itself for the second band of celestial angels. Kat Shlishis, a third band, Amlefan of Rebbeinu Shalom. Rishayim she'amru lefanecha, the Rishayim that gave their opinion, moha ilu, what did they accomplish? I mean, you just destroyed them. Kol ha'olam kulach shelcho, the whole world is yours. Kol ma'asha ataroitza la'asais b'olamcha, whatever you want to do in your world, I say. In other words, you know best, Rabbi Shalom. When they reached the generation of the flood and the generation of dispersion, whose deeds were messed up, the angels said, didn't they say correctly? Says, Hashem said, until old age I am he. Va'ad seva ani espel, until hoary old age, I will tolerate them. The Rebbeinu Shalom says, I will tolerate the sins of man. Man went from one end of the world to the other, from the day that Hashem created man on the world, from one end of the heaven to the other. Once man sinned, Hashem diminished him. Hashem placed his hand upon him, and made him smaller. You created me back and front, and you put your palm upon me. There's another memory. He was big from the earth to the firmament. Until the edge of heaven. Hashem put his hands upon him and diminished him. And you placed on me your hand. So is it from one end of the world to the other, or is it from the earth to the firmament? Says the Gemara, both are the same amount. Rabbi Yehuda said in the name of Rav. Let's try to mute some people over here. Rabbi Yehuda says in the name of Rav, Adam Harishan Baloshan Arami Siper. Adam Harishan originally spoke in Aramaic, which is very interesting that Aramaic was an original language. We find that Aramaic has special features, like, for example, we do gematrias from Aramaic, right? The first Taisus in Masechtas Gittin says that the gematria of get is 12 because there's 12 lines in a get. So get is an Aramaic word. It's not a Hebrew word. And yet we make gematrias. We don't make gematrias with English or Spanish or French, right? Nobody says, what's the gematria of Moby Dick? There's no such thing. But we do make gematrias of Aramaic. So here we find an interesting thing, that Aramaic was the original language that Adam was created with. Shenema v'li ma yokru re'echa kel. And to me, says Adam, how precious are your thoughts, Hashem. The word re'echa, rayon, for thoughts, is Aramaic. V'hainu damer shlokish Maidich Siv Zet Sefer Toldos Adam. This is the book of the accounts of man. Melamed Shehero HaKadosh Baruch Hu Dor Dor V'Darshav. Hashem showed Adam Arishan every generation and its darshanim, and Dor Dor V'Chachamav, every generation and its wise ones. There's another gears of this that's Dor Dor Umanhigov. Now, by the way, this is very important, and that is that each generation needs its own leaders. If Rav Meir Arik, who was the Gadol Adar in the beginning of the 1900s, would come into a Beis Medrash now, he wouldn't be able to relate to people with cell phones and emails, cars and planes and instant messaging. It's a completely different world. You know, in another generation, the rabbi would speak about not worshiping Baal Pa'or and Merkulis, not throwing stones at Merkulis. Today, we don't need somebody for that. Today, we need somebody to tell the children, that they should not dress like the Goyim. All of a sudden, the dress is a tremendous challenge. There were times that dress was not a challenge. The Goyim also dressed modestly. You see pictures of the 1940s, how the women were dressed. There's no comparison to the way women dress today. As we welcome in Ben Keneal joining us, and we are midway down Lamed Ches Amud Beis. It's truly amazing how much we're going to learn tonight. It's like we've already learned 1,000 words. We've already done 1,000 mitzvahs, I say. It's really amazing. So anyway, Malamed She'areh HaKadosh Baruch Hu Dor Dor V'Dorshav. Hashem showed Adam Arish in every generation and its Darshanim, every generation and its Chachamim. It's interesting that it mentions Dor Dor V'Dorshav first. The Darshanim are very important. You know, they stir us and they inspire us. You know, people have finished Shas because they were inspired by a few words from Rav Palm's speech in Madison Square Garden, in MetLife Stadium. The inspiration of Darshanim throughout the ages is amazing, what they can accomplish, how they could change the mind of someone with one drasha. Kevan Shegila Darsha Rabbi Kiva, when he reached the generation Rabbi Kiva, Samach b'seirasai, he rejoiced over the Torah of Rabbi Kiva, v'nitzatei v'misasai, and he was saddened by his death. And here, this is the connection. You've been wondering, what's this connection with the pasuk we said? Because it quotes this pasuk, V'amar v'li ma yokru re'echa kel. How elevated are your thoughts, Hashem? In other words, I cannot understand why Rabbi Kiva's flesh should be scraped with iron, with barzel. Right? It's too far to understand. Article used the word sublime. How sublime are your thoughts? They're out of our reach. Now, I will tell you that Rabbeinu Hanana learns these Gemaras, not that it means Chas V'Shalom that Adam Arishan was a heretic, but rather that heretics said this about Adam Arishan, and the Gemara is going to diffuse it and show that it's not true. But this was a claim. We'll learn like Rabbeinu Hananel. It's one of the great Rishonim on the page, and it's easiest to understand that the Yitzir Kappa Shel Hashem was not a min. They claimed that he was a heretic. Shenemar vayikra Hashem elikim es Adam elo Adam. Hashem called to Adam. Vayomer lo hayeka. He said, "Where are you? Where are you?" And the Gemara explains, "On nota libcha." Where did your heart turn, Adam? You know, why are you not focused on the Rebbeinu Shalom? Rabbi Yitzchak Aimer, Moishech ba'arlasayaya. He tried to pull down his foreskin and to conceal his milah. In other words, he rebelled against the milah. Ksiv hacha v'hema ka'adam avru bris. They are like Adam, who went against the bris, and we know that the bris refers to the milah. Uksiv hasam as brisi hafer. They annulled my circumcision. So we see that the pasuk says that Adam tried to even camouflage that he was circumcised. Rav Nachman says another damning pasuk. Kaifer be'ikiraya, he denied the essence of Hashem. Ksiv hacha avru bris, they violated the bris. Uksiv hasam va'amru al asher ozvu es bris Hashem alekeichem, because you forsook the covenant of Hashem. However, Gemara says, Tanan hasam Rebbe Lazar Aimer have a shaked lilmud Torah. You should be a masmid in learning Torah, v'dam asher toshev lapikaris, and you should know what to answer the heretic. You should only deal with a Goyish heretic. Aval apikaris Yisrael, but a Yiddish heretic, he's a smart aleck, and you won't get through to him. Kol shechein the pucker tvei, whatever you say to him, he's going to have a comeback, and he's going to be even more a heretic. All places where the heretics try to show that there is two deities, Chuvas and Betzidon, their refutation is right alongside. Nasa Adam B'Tzalmeinu, let us make man in our image. So it sounds like that there's a plurality. But Hashem created in the singular, Vayivra, it doesn't say Vayivra'u, Hashem created man in his image. Let us go down and mix up their language. But right away it says, Hashem, says only Hashem went down in the singular to see the city and the tower that they made. Kisham nov niglu elav elikim, because over there, niglu elav elikim, God appeared to Yaakov. Niglu is in the plural, but then it says lekela oina oisi b'yom tzarasi, to the God that answers me. Oina is in the singular in my time of tzara. Kimi gai gadol, who is a great nation, asher lo yelikim kroivim elav, that has God close to him, so it says kroivim in the plural, but then it says kashem alikeinu b'chol kereinu elav, like Hashem our God when we call elav to him in the singular. Yisrael goyechad ba'aretz was like a nation, Hashem, one nation, earth, asher holchu elikim, that God walked forward with them, holchu in the plural, but then it says liftois loi, to redeem to him in the singular, la'am. It says by Daniel, adi korsavon remiv, until thrones were placed. V'atik yoimin yosiv, but then it says right afterwards, and the ancient one sits in the plural. So although it says thrones in the plural, but it says atik yoimim yosiv, sitting in the singular. So okay, but now the Gemara is going to have to deal with what are all these plurals over here. So the Gemara says, Hanach Lomali, why did the Pasuk use, as we welcome in Dov Salkowitz, for our 35th Zumer of this Matzah Shabbos, and Dov we are holding on Daf Lamed Ches Amid Beis, and we are holding in the final third, or maybe even final quarter of the Amid, down the bottom. So why do we have such a plurality? Kid Rabbi Yochanan, Dam Rabbi Yochanan, Ein HaKadosh Baruch Hu Oiseh Davar, Hashem doesn't do anything unless he's nimlach bepamal yishomal, unless he asks his heavenly tribune. And this is not that the Rebbeinu Shalom needs to ask advice, and surely they are his creations and they only think through Hashem, they don't have any independent thinking. But Hashem wants us to learn that we should ask even from our inferiors advice. Shenema begizras irin piskama, by the decree of those that are awake, is the mandate. Ubamamar kadishin, and with the statement of the holy ones, she'elta, is the answer to the inquiry. So therefore it starts with a plural, as we welcome in Yeshua Shmuel Eisenberg. It starts with a plural to show that the Rebbeinu Shalom is taking advice. We do now have 36 Zoomers joining us this evening as the bourbon counter is burping away on the bottom over here. Says the Gemara, okay, that works, but what about the two thrones that Daniel saw? Hatein akulu, adi korsavon remiv, the thrones are placed, my ikalamema. What's the throne? Says the Gemara, that throne was the throne for David HaMelech. In other words, the pasuk was saying, forecasting that there'll be a throne above and a throne below. Echad loy ve'echad l'David. The Tanya echad loy ve'echad l'David. Divrei Rabbi Akiva. Amalei Rabbi Yosi. What are you comparing Hashem's throne to a human throne? Akiva ad mosei ata oisa shchina chol. What are you making the shchina in the same breath as that which is mundane? Ela echad l'din ve'echad l'tzedakah. Hashem has two thrones, as we know. He has the throne of strict justice, and then he has the throne of charity and mercy. Kibla minei oiloi kibla minei. Did Rabbi Akiva accept Rabbi Yosef's pshat or not? Tajman de Tanya echad l'din ve'echad l'tzedakah. Divrei Rabbi Akiva. Amalei Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. So Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah told Rabbi Akiva, you know what? That's not, Agarta is not your forte. Stick to the very difficult sugyas of Negam and Alois, of leprosy, and the Oyel HaMeis of Tumah V'Tara. Amalei Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, Akiva Malacha Eitzel Agada. Why are you stepping into Agarta? That's not your forte. Klach Eitzel Negam V'Alois. Ela Echad L'Kisei V'Echad L'Serafraf. One is for his throne and one is for his footstool. Kisei leishav alav, the throne is to sit upon and oversee that which is in the heavens and the upper realm. Srafraf ladam ragalav, for his footstool to oversee that which is going on below. Omer Rav Nachman, and I really thank Hashem that I have the strength. Not so long ago I didn't have the strength to say shir. I thank Hashem that I have the strength to say, these too long blot, but I do ask everybody to have me in mind. I still need a refuah shalema. Moshe Meir ben Esther Fradel, she'have a refuah shalema b'seich she'achel Yisrael. Omer of Nachman, Haiman biyada la'adurei laminim k'Rav Idis. Somebody who knows to answer and debate the heretics like Rav Idis, lahader. V'iloi loy lahader. If not, you shouldn't get into a discussion with them. As Ramila would say, when it says dam ala hoshev lapikoris, if you should stay far away from the apikoris. What does it mean you should know what to answer the apikoris? It means you should know what to answer the apikoris in your own mind. The murmuring doubts that you have in your own mind, that you have to know how to answer. But an apikoris, leave it to the experts. Stay away from an Adam Ra. And Gemara says, if you're like Rav Idis and you're capable, yes. If not, stay away from them. Amrahu mina Rav Idis, a certain heretic said to Rav Idis, Ksiv, Ve'al Moshe Amar Alei El Hashem. And to Moshe, he said, go up to Hashem. So if Hashem is talking, he should have said, Alei Elai Mibailei. Should say, come up to me. Who else is talking? Amalei. So he answered to him, as we mute people over here. Amalei. He answered him. You know who's doing it? Zel Metatron. This is the Malach Metatron. Shishmoi Kishem Rabbi, whose name is like the name of his master. Metatron, by the way, is the same gematria as Shakai. Metatron is exactly 314, the gematria of Shakai. So Amalei Zel Metatron Shishmoi Kishem Rabbi, Dichsiv Kishmi Bekirbai. My name is within him. So when it said in the pasuk Vel Moshe Amar Alei El Hashem, it's Metatron that said it. So the Gemara says, Yachi niflechulei. Now we should bow down to Metatron. Ksiv, no. Al tamer bo. you should not exchange for Hashem anyone. And it said, in other words, Al Tamireni boy, do not exchange me for anyone else. Im kain lo yisa lepishechem. Why does it have to say that he cannot forgive sins? Obviously, he can forgive sins. Amalei, so he said, Ravida said to the men, Hey Musa biyadan, our belief is that we did not want to accept the Metatron even as our emissary. Because we said, we said to Hashem, Hashem, if your presence doesn't travel with us, then you shouldn't bring us from here. We want only you, Hashem. We don't want an emissary. Amalei Ahumina l'Rabbi Shmuel b'Rabbi Yaisi, Ksiva Hashem himtur al Sodom v'al Amorah, and Hashem rained upon Sodom v'Amorah, Gofris v'Eish me'Eis Hashem. Now, why does it say again Hashem? It said in the beginning of the pasuk, v'Hashem himtur al Sodom v'al Amorah Gofris v'Eish. It should say Me'itai, from him. Me'itai mi'Bailei. Doesn't that look like, God forbid, there's two deities? There was a washerman that said to Rabbi Shmuel, Shavkei anom ha'adranolei, leave him be, I'll answer him. Lemech said to his wives, Odav etzilo shman koili, listen to my voice. Neshei Lemech, wives of Lemech. Now, it said by Yomer Lemech. It shouldn't say again at the end of the pasuk Neshei Lemech. It should say Noshai mibayile, my wives. Why does it say Neshei Lemech? It already said in the beginning of the pasuk by Yomer Lemech. Ela mishtoikrach. Even though it said Lemech in the beginning of the pasuk, it's eloquent to say it again at the end of the pasuk as we welcome in Mo Kushner joining us. So Achanami mishtoikrach. This is also the way of the pasuk. Amalei, so Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yaisi asked, this is a laundryman. Amalei minolacha, how do you know this? So he said, Mepirkei de Reb Meir Shmili. I attended Reb Meir's shiurim, and I learned this from Reb Meir's shiurim. Dama Reb Yochanan ki havedorish Reb Meir bepirkei, when Reb Meir gave shir, havedorish tilsa shmatza, a third of it would be halacha, tilsa agadita, a third of it would be homiletics, and tilsa masle, and the third of it would be musar taught with mishalim, with parables. Rabbi Yochanan gimel meis mishlei shualim hayalei Reb Meir. Reb Meir had 300 parables with wolves and with the fox. Va'anu ein lanu ela shalish. We only have 3. And it's based on the following 3 psukim. Avos yoichlu beiser, the fathers ate unripe grapes. V'shinei abonim tikena, and the teeth of the children were gnashed. They were on edge. They were affected by the unripe grapes that the father drank. Moiznei tzedek avnei tzedek, weights that are righteous, or scales that are righteous, and weights that are righteous. And sadik mitzora nechlotz, the righteous is saved from distress. Vayavai rasha tachtav, and the wicked go in its stead. So now, what do these psukim have to do with the mishalim of a fox and a wolf? So here we have, Rashi gives us a ganze story over here. A fox told the wolf that, if you go to a family and you help them prepare for Shabbos, then they'll let you eat with them for Shabbos. So the wolf went to this courtyard to help out, and the people chased him away with sticks. So the wolf came back and wanted to kill the fox. So the fox said to the wolf, well, if they treated that way with you, it's because your father once went to them and after he helped them, he ate all the choice foods. So the wolf said, is a person punished for the sins of his father? So that he quoted the first pasuk, Avos yoichlu baiser, if the father eats unripe grapes, he doesn't behave, then v'shine abonim tikena, then the children, they're punished if they continue the ways of their father. But he says, come with me, and I'll get you a good meal. He takes him to a well. There are 2 buckets on a beam. So the fox goes down in one bucket and drinks from the water. The wolf looks down and sees the moon reflected in the water and asks the fox what's down there. So the fox says it's a big piece of cheese and delicious water to drink. So he says, well, how am I going to get down there? So he says, well, go in the other bucket and come down, like I did. So he goes in the other bucket, and of course, he goes down in the bucket, and the fox comes up. So now the wolf says, how am I going to get back up? So he says, look, Moiznei tzedek avnei tzedek, Hashem weighs the deeds of the righteous, and I was merited to come back up, but tzaddik mitzar nechlatz, I am saved from distress, v'yavai rasha tachtav, and you went down in my stead. And that was the wolves and the fox. Okay, with on that note, the wolf, by the way, his name was Marshall. On that note, we're just going to change the channel over here.